Well, Bioshock Infinite, looks like you're not the only one in the running for Game of the Year already. The Last of Us. Now, The Last of Us is the latest game coming from Naughty Dog, who is responsible for this past generation for the Uncharted trilogy, one of the best trilogies in games that I've seen in a long while, and preceding that they were also responsible for the Jak and Daxter trilogy, which was also really good. So if there's any one studio that has an extremely high pedigree with a PS3, it comes from Naughty Dog. Any time these guys make a game, everyone goes ballistic over them. And The Last of Us is no different. I mean, this game has been getting 10 out of 10s, 5 out of 5s, A pluses, 90 plus scores all around. Everyone is going ballistic over this game. But is it really warranted? Let's find out. Now, the story of The Last of Us begins as the apocalypse is just about to occur. A fungal infection has been rapidly spreading throughout the country, and it turns everyone into mindless, zombie-like creatures that make them homicidal and all around dangerous, and anyone who bites them gets turned into one of these infected as well. And it follows the characters of Joel and Ellie, two survivors of the apocalypse. Joel, on one hand, is already a survivor of this long-time apocalypse in that he is still reconciling the world he once knew and the world that he lives in now. Ellie, on the other hand, is a young lady who has only known the world of The Last of Us in terms of a state of ruin, decay, and decrepitness, and doesn't have any context of the world that came before. She has no prior context of the entire world that came before she was born. She has no idea what a job is, what a university is like. In fact, when you describe something of the world that came before to her, it almost sounds like a fairy tale and also seems strange, alien, and this dynamic between Joel and Ellie is the driving force of the game, in which they are thrust into a circumstance in which Joel has to escort Ellie to this one particular location. I won't explain why or explain how they're going to do it, but the journey that goes along with it is probably one of the most enthralling I've seen in a long time. In short, people, I'm going to have to say this right now, I really like this game. I can't, however, love it. It's not perfect. I understand that's going to make a lot of people mad. But let me explain as to why I say this. I really do like this game. I highly recommend anyone go out and playing it. But let me just go ahead and explain why. Why do I think this? Why do I say there's just one thing about this game that I cannot ignore. That to me, aside from all emotional attachment, as much as I really like this story and how it presented itself, there's something on a functional level that just doesn't work. It breaks everything. Well, not everything. Okay, let me phrase it. It doesn't break everything. It just breaks one particular aspect that's key for the entire game to work as a whole. But let's go ahead and get into that. Now, the first praise I have to get to is its art direction and its presentation overall. Oh my word, Naughty Dog. I don't know what you do to make your games look as beautiful, as vibrant, and as detailed as you possibly can, but every single piece of this game doesn't feel out of place. The locations look gorgeous no matter what time of year or location that they may be. It can be simple as going into the woodland areas or seeing a group of fireflies surround one of the main characters or maybe knocking over a lamp or something like that. It's just, there's so many details and like just interactions of the environment and just looking at it overall, it's so beautiful to look at. And what's even more interesting is that watching the vegetation slowly take over the world around us, it's kind of alien in itself in that the world that we once lived in is now being taken over by nature itself. And it's just it's interesting to see that encroaching, slowly dissolving away little by little the human world as it's slowly whittled down to its most basic survival instincts. Which leads me into my next praise. And the way the characters present themselves through the dialogue is outstanding. I love watching the reactions and the dynamics between Joel and Ellie as they conflict with each other, watching this idea of the old world trying to adapt to this new world, and someone who has never known the old world live in this new one with the context of the old world kind of being like a fairy tale. Each one of these characters Oh man, I just love watching the dynamics between the two. All these little optional conversations that make Ellie more and more curious about the old world that came before, like going through a vinyl record store or looking at an arcade cabinet. I just liked watching those little details and nuances for the characters. It allowed for such emotion and personality to come through, showing that she had curiosity. Joel having nostalgia about the world he once lived in. Each one of these characters has their own dynamic and their own personality shows through these little moments. And even in moments where there's subtlety, lots and lots of subtle moments throughout the course of this game. For example, I won't spoil what this scene involves, but there is an entire scene that is pretty much all in silence. That once you see what happens, just the face alone in the characters exhibits pain, anguish, fear, all these emotions together, both of them looking at each other in just despair that it's in the shot. It's just like, that is brilliant filmmaking and just cinematic presentation overall. I cannot... Oh man, I wish I could tell you the scene, but if you know what I'm talking about, the one scene that plays in silence, that's one of my favorite scenes overall in the entire course of the game. I just love the way that was presented. I thought it was really good. Also, the music in the game. There's so many quiet tones. It's almost like if you were watching a TV show, I guess like The Walking Dead. I don't know, I've never seen The Walking Dead, but there's so many quiet moments and so many times, like the guitar riff, it'll just play a couple of simple notes. But yet those simple notes will encapsulate the scene perfectly. The tone, the mood, the desperation, and just the somber nature of the world around them. Because I'm telling you folks, this game is not exactly happy when it comes to its world. This is a brutal, this is a depressing, and sometimes heartbreaking story when it comes to presenting it, when it comes to the way the story progresses throughout the course of the game. And I liked that. I liked the fact that it was able to do that. It wasn't overly bombastic. I can't name a single moment in this game where it felt the score was too bombastic or too quiet for the moment to really encapsulate the musical tone accordingly fits the game moment perfectly. Every moment in this game has a musical moment and it all fits. And going off of the audio, the enemies in this game are insanely creepy. Mostly due to the infected. The infected are so freaking scary to fight because it's not so much the like one of the types of enemies is called the runners, and these runners are like their name entitles. Once they find you, they will hunt you down like mad, and it's not like senior citizens with hip replacements where it's just like these zombies will haul ass after you and they will hunt you down. And there's this one enemy type, the clicker. I never thought a clicking sound in a video game could ever put me so on edge. But every time I saw a clicker, I felt the hairs on my neck go back up. And I was just like, crap. Every single one of these enemies makes me scared. But luckily you have an arsenal of weapons that help you during the course of the game. However, ammo is scarce and you have to use it sparingly and only when you feel like it's necessary. I love the fact that every bit of the crafting that you do in prepping your supplies, getting health kits, getting a shiv together, getting Molotov cocktails, smoke bombs, nail bombs, all these little things together, all these little makeshift weapons you have, and gathering the supplies all around the world, you really have to make use of your environment, all both in the materials that you find and the environment itself, in terms of taking down your enemies and figuring out, okay, what enemies do I focus on first? How do I get them all in one spot? Or how do I take them all at the best of my advantage? That's really allowing a lot of creativity and a lot of different strategies you can give yourself when making the course of the game. However, with all of that praise, there is one thing, however, and it pains me to say this. It really pains me to say this, folks. I want to ignore this. I really do want to ignore this, but I can't. I can't ignore something that has been this much of a prevalent issue since the beginning of the game. One of the things, and this leads to my only criticism with the game itself. During the course of some of these stealth segments, when you're trying to hide from your enemies, and you're trying to take them out one by one, sometimes your character will be detected and it will start off the conflict. Wait, makes sense. They see you, they want to hunt you down, and they want to catch you. However, The problem I'm having with this game, the one problem I see in terms of breaking the illusion entirely, is that the AI characters, specifically Ellie, since she is with you pretty much 80-90% of the game, is that if the enemy AI and the friendly AI collide with each other, or the friendly AI is within the enemy AI's line of sight, nothing happens. Even if the enemy and the friendly are directly in front of each other, or friendly passes right through them. I'm sorry, folks, but that just breaks the entire illusion that this is a real character that you care about, that there's a weight to her presence and actually feels like there's someone there. That's the one thing that made me go, no, you don't do this. You had everything going for you. This would have been a perfect game if this one little thing was fixed. Now, I can understand if people say, well, that would have just made it harder with the convenience, with AI being there as a presence, it won't set off the alarm. It's just like, I understand people might argue that, but here's the thing. If the person doesn't have a consequence, if having them around doesn't have a consequence to you, that loses a bit of the tension there. It loses a bit of the risk of saying, oh, I don't need to worry about this character. Yes, you might need to worry about them once the alarm and actual conflict sets off and gets going. However, if there's nothing for the character's presence to be in the scenario that will set off the alarm or go anything into conflict, then what's the point in worrying about them? I mean, it's... I'm sorry, folks. I understand this point is a little bit difficult to understand, or I'm not very conveying it very well. I'm sorry, and I apologize, but this is an issue that I cannot ignore. I can't do it. As much as I would love to, it breaks the illusion, it breaks the immersion level, and it's sort of like very peaks and valleys. It's like, okay, you got everything going for you, everything's fitting perfectly, all of a sudden, friendly AI passes through. Crash. And then it goes back up, and it goes down again. It goes back up, goes down again. And it's just, every time this happened, I was just getting frustrated. It's like, no, I want to love this game. I want to say it's great, it's perfect, it's living up to the hype, and everyone's saying that it's real. But I can't ignore this, folks. I really can't. As much as it pains me to say this, it's just one small thing. It's the small thing that breaks the illusion, and when you're trying to sell an immersive world with 3D characters that matter and a story that's really good, all of which it is, but if there's no weight to the characters being there, then there's really not as much tension as you could have. You're not worried for the character's safety until the conflict already starts. You're worried about where are they at and what are they doing to make sure that they are ensuring their own safety. In terms of the battles, like, I wouldn't concern myself where Ellie was at all times because I knew that she wouldn't set off the alarm. And I was just like, no, this is not right. You want me to care about this character. You've done it so well in terms of the story, in terms of presenting itself and giving her emotion and personality. But why not have her presence there matter in terms of setting off a conflict and setting off the enemy AI? It just bothered me and broke the illusion, which now leads me to a question that I've never asked myself before. And I'm asking this of you. I'm honestly asking you for your help and asking you, what do you think is better? Do you sacrifice the level of immersion that can be reached at the convenience of the player for the gameplay's sake? Or do you sacrifice gameplay conveniences in order to raise the level of immersion that can be felt and reached? I honestly do not have an answer for this question, folks. I'm asking you, and I'm going to ask a couple of other people about this question because this is something that I still do not have an answer for, and I feel like it's a question that needs to be raised. But with that said, I still really, 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 really like The Last of Us. I just can't love it because of that one stupid thing. It makes me so frustrated that I can't get there, and I want to say that this game is worth every penny. And I say this right now, go out and play The Last of Us because it is a fantastic game. It is well worth playing, but I have to be objective about this. I have to, in that I must set aside all emotional attachment aside. Put that aside just for a moment and think about this. Okay, on a functional level, taking everything that works together in tandem with each other, the story, the aesthetics, the music, the gameplay, putting all those together, that one little thing in terms of immersion, breaking almost the entire seamless, cohesive experience, Where does this lead us? One problem. I'll have to say this right now, that The Last of Us is worth playing, but it's not perfect. I understand if people love this game. Believe me, I really love it. I really, really do like it. But I cannot get it to that just... it's frustrating as hell. I really do want to give it that worth every penny rating. But this is my second highest rating I'm giving it. Worth playing, but not perfect. It's my second highest rating. I still say it's worth going out and getting and playing and experience for yourself, because there's not many games out there like that. So there you go, everybody. That's my opinion of The Last of Us. I apologize if this game is not on high as on my scale as you would have liked it to be. Believe me, it pains me to have to give it that rating. But I still say you go out and play The Last of Us. I highly recommend it. It's absolutely worth what your money is. I enjoyed it. I'm sure that you would too enjoy it as well. So I'll just leave it at that, folks. And until next time, everybody, I'm Perry the One-Armed Legend. You name it, I can play it.